Well, this really started after a dear friend of mine who was a fellow resident at Columbia Presbyterian Hospital in the 80s, on November 2nd to be precise, 1981, was gunned down in front of our emergency department. And I was very involved, both unfortunately in his unsuccessful resuscitation, but also in trying to make the hospital safer after he was murdered. And one of the people that came to talk to us that day was Sarah Brady, who was the wife of Jim Brady, the press secretary of President Reagan, who had been shot and had a severe neurologic injury back about 6 months before this shooting of my friend. And she just talked about this concept of reducing lethal means and the access to lethal means as the ticket to try to reduce gun violence. And so we were thinking of different ways to do that. There was a colleague of ours who was a carpet salesman in Harlem, in Washington Heights, who one day called his program Goods for Guns, and he offered free carpeting if someone came in with a gun. And he got so many respondees that by that time I had moved on to be a trauma surgeon in Pittsburgh, and we were in the middle of a gang war. We tried it out in Pittsburgh, giving gift certificates, not carpet, for guns, called it Goods for Guns, and it's been going on there for 29 years. When I moved back to Worcester in 2002, then Police Chief Gallagher and then DA Conti let me set it up here, and it's been going on now. This is our 21st year.
It's a great opportunity for the people in the area to dispose of guns they no longer want, guns that are in the household not being used, and it's a challenge for a lot of people to properly care for a gun, properly secure it. So there's an opportunity for them to rid themselves of the gun and at the same time make a few dollars by way of a gift card from a local grocery store. I first met Dr. Hirsch a little over 20 years ago when we started this program, and I was working with him right from the outset. So it's a little over 20 years we've been doing this, and we collected just shy of 4,000 guns thus far. We're working in conjunction with District Attorney Joe Early, and he provides through his office amnesty. People can, even whether they have a gun license or not, can bring their guns here. No questions asked, it's completely anonymous. They could drop their gun off, get their gift card, and be on their way, and nobody's asking any questions. We have quite a bit of rifles and shotguns already thus far. We've probably got 7 or 8 handguns. We had a sawed-off shotgun already today, which is a very dangerous weapon. And there was no legitimate or practical reason for anybody to have such a gun. So it's good to get that off the street before it falls into the wrong hands. Every year we do this. We do it also in the summer. But whether you participate or not, it's voluntary, of course. It brings to the forefront the importance of getting guns secured in the home so that they're not the subject of theft. Somebody who is despondent in the family, suffering depression or a mental health crisis, doesn't necessarily take that gun at a very bad moment and end his life with finality, unlike other forms of suicide, which are have less forms of efficacy. But with a gun, there's no second chances, and also people in domestic violence, where ration goes right out the window when it comes to squabbles with loved ones. Sometimes if under the right circumstances, a gun in the house could be very, very dangerous. And lastly, these guns being stolen by maybe a family member who is involved in drugs, not really in his right mind, or somebody breaking into a home and stealing this guns. And out in the street, guns are they are so liquid insofar as their ability to sell. It's as good as money out there. So, and nothing good comes from it out there. So this is an opportunity to put the gun away, get it secured, or out of the house entirely.
So I'm part of an injury prevention coalition. The director is Asia Simpson. She had let me know about this gun buyback thing happening here at Worcester PD, so I decided to also volunteer here just to see what it was like and to kind of be part of the Worcester community a little bit more as well. I think for me, since this is my first event, I was a little worried just about how things were going to go. And honestly, people were here even before I showed up, ready to give in their guns. And I think we've kind of seen a lot of different people who come in for like a lot of different reasons. And that's something like through the anonymous surveys that we're getting, we're like trying to find out why are they choosing to give away their guns today? Do they have any other firearms? And I think, everyone has their different reasons. It could be a family member, it could be they just don't want to have a gun anymore. So I think it's really interesting to hold an event like this to give people that kind of opportunity as well. I mean, I think that's still a big topic being discussed like across the US, just like, is it like, we've seen mass shooters, issues at schools happening like for the past 2 years. So I think the discussion of guns is a really big and important topic that people need to be having. And at least in this way, we're letting these people make that discussion at home to see, fine, maybe we can't apply these regulations to the whole US just yet. But we're giving them the option to say, like, if you feel like having this firearm in your home with your partner, with your children is not a safe option for you right now, at least you have this way to get rid of that gun, or to at least take a step forward to making your family feel like they have a safer environment as well. So as soon as someone comes in with their firearm, they go ahead and hand it to the police officer up front. And then I get this sheet over here just logging up the type of gun that they get. And what we do is we hand them associated gift cards depending on the money associated with the gun that they have. So for example, if they hand in a shotgun, that's worth $50 in a gift card. And we have these Big Y and Market Basket gift cards, each worth $25. So we make sure we go ahead and hand it to them. So now my job is to keep log of everything that we're getting. So through this tracking sheet that I have here, I just take note of the guns that they're logging in, the money that it costs, and just the total amount that they're submitting today. That way, at the end of our session today, we can get a complete count of all the guns that they submitted and kind of our progress so far. We also like to ask if they want any gun locks, because they may be submitting a firearm today, but it's possible that they have more at home, so we just want to make sure we give them the safe option of getting a gun lock for free as well that they can pick up here today. And then there are those surveys that I mentioned. They are completely anonymous. We just want to ask them a few questions to see why they're choosing to give in their firearm, and then just other questions about their opinions on guns and stuff like that too. So it's a very holistic approach, just to get all the information that we can and make sure that we're having a really smooth way of having them give their gun back without any difficulties.
Well, one of the reasons we have so many great volunteers who are medical students and pre-medical students is that what we're trying to educate practitioners about is helping families make a risk evaluation. If they have a gun in the home, even if it wasn't one that they purchased, it was just either found in the home when they bought the place or rented the place, a gun in the home is a certain level of baseline risk. But if you add certain factors, that risk goes way up. So if you have a demented elderly person in the home, if you have a depressed teen in the home, if you have an angry spouse in the home, if you have someone with substance use disorder who might take the weapon and fence it on the street in exchange for drugs, if you have an inquisitive toddler in the home that just is looking for Christmas presents and might find a gun instead, and as soon as a child sees a gun, they grab the gun and they try to shoot the gun. And that's how so many of these quote-unquote accidental shootings happen, where they shoot themselves or shoot a loved one. There are no accidents, because that gun is a risk, and that means it's predictably going to cause an injury if it's not stored safely. So we ask each of our practitioners to ask that of their gun-owning patients. And if the gun owners say, yeah, I guess there is more risk, how do they get rid of the gun? This is the way, because they get amnesty, no questions asked. They end up coming in here, getting some gift certificates for a little, relief at Christmas time, make the city safer, make the region safer, because we've got 8 partners out in the community now doing this as well. So all of Worcester County is doing it. And we couldn't do it without the support of the district attorney, the Worcester Police Department, the Department of Public Health, and this Division of Community Relations over at UMass Memorial has also supported us too. I think it's a win-win for the community. Every gun we get off the street is one less chance of somebody having a tragic time with that gun. So far we've collected close to 4,000 weapons in 20 years, and I'm thrilled about it, and I think it's made Worcester a little bit safer. We have great partners, and the white coats and the blue coats together, that makes a big difference to keep the city safe.